Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers, and I have been contemplating a project for a little while. Um, to describe the situation here, we are right now in spectator cam. This monstrosity here is called the Interstellar Transport. Now, I made this quite a while ago. I was just experimenting, having fun in some small way. This was somewhat conceptualized, and I use conceptualized very loosely. If anybody saw the James Cameron film Avatar, they had a very large space vessel in that film, clearly an interstellar monster. So while I can't say this was even loosely based on that, the concept was based on a very large interstellar capable transport ship. Anyway, this is what it was. Obviously a multi-section ship, kind of a spire type. So back here, obviously the drive section. Speed up the camera a little bit. So obviously a rather large drive section. Not real good at slowing down. There's only 4 large hydrogen thrusters, and of course you'll notice they're not working. So that's part of the project. We've got also a bunch of side thrust capable thrusters here, small thrusters obviously, but still hydrogen, and they're not working either. Right here in this section we have reactors, so it is reactor capable. In this section was refining, is what was here. Now the reason I say this is a project, get the sun out of our eyes here, this was built with the Kenty mod and a couple other mods. All of those mods have been removed. So what I wanted to do was come up with I call this a vanilla version that I want to do here, that I want to accomplish. Now the caveat to the word vanilla is, so if you come in close, we have these, they look like ground down blocks. But they're really not. They were a mod, and forgive me for just a second while I go and actually find that mod, because I would rather speak intelligently and actually show you the author and the purpose of that mod, vice just, babbling here. Of course, I'm signed out of Steam. Why would I be signed in? So, one of the reasons, and I hate to say I don't like ground down blocks, because that's not actually the case. I do really like it. It's just amazing to me, the various things that mod authors manage to do with ground down blocks. It's absolutely incredible. Alright, so let me get this up on the screen here, and because I'm UHD on this particular screen. So Conveyors workshop. Conveyor, if you ever watch this, I apologize if I slaughtered your name. I'm really good at slaughtering names. So this is called Scaffold, and as he describes here, this is a light armor construction block for use as decorative scaffolding. So basically, as I understand, effectively what he or she has done is take the light armor construction phase, the initial build state, and turned it into a complete block. So basically it's build state 1, but as a complete block. So and what I mean by complete block is there's no building. Once it's built, it's built. So for those of you who use I want to say building aids, if I can call them that, so things like the Nanite Construction Factory, or the Nanite Control Factory, that helps you build things. So you basically build the initial, you put the block down, and then something comes along behind you and actually aids you in building that. There's a lot of mods out there that do that. So the concept was, if you have a ship, vessel, whatever, that uses these ground down blocks or partially constructed blocks, and you get them, into an environment where these build aid functionality mods are present, then they will finish building those for you, which of course completely screws up the original aesthetics, because that they were ground out for a reason. But because they're not finished, it senses that they're not finished, and it says, I'm going to finish those. So that's why I actually started using this particular one. It's a very simple mod. It doesn't seem to cause any CPU issues that I can tell, or lag issues that I can tell. But because it's a finished block, and there are others like this one, but because it's a finished block, then I don't have to worry about the aesthetics of the vessel changing because I have a Nanite Control Factory somewhere close by, because it's a complete block. Now, there's a couple snafus I've noticed about these particular blocks, because ultimately the light armor block is airtight. Then when this thing is placed onto the ship, it is airtight. Now, of course, the problem with that is this is basically a stick figure block that in no way, shape, or form, even remotely conceptualized, could possibly hold air, but it does. So there are issues. So I don't know, and that's not the fault of Kiviar or anyone else who attempts to do something like this, because you're using the construct of a light armor block. You're stuck with what you got. The armor blocks are inherently airtight. So anyway, not during the build stages, but when they're done, they're airtight. So anyway, for what that one's worth. So wanted to show you this. This is what this is the my intention, the one and only mod. I wanted to also bring in Colt 16's console mod. I use that mod in all of my vessels. I know I say all, and it's not really all, but it's a boatload of them, because I really like it. The detail, it's just a fantastic mod. My only complaint is I wish there was another mod. I understand Colt 16 is not doing mods for Space Engineers anymore, if the rumors are correct. But it would be nice if somebody who was really good at modeling LCDs and stuff could actually create a mod that was like complementary to the command console mod that lets you put LCDs into the consoles. I think that would be just really awesome. But even without it, it's really awesome. I like what has happened. I mean, it's in wide-scale use. I know it's a very popular mod. So, anyway, having said all that, let me get this back off the screen and get back to the game. Put this back onto my other monitor, which is just HD. Okay, click, get rid of that one. Okay, back into the game. So effectively, the intention here is to modify this. So it's already partially modified, but modify this so it will be as vanilla as possible, with the only exception and caveat being the scaffold mod, and possibly the Colt command mod. Now, a couple of things that, for example, why these thrusters are not working. I was using the Prosimian armored conveyors as well as the Drifting Thoughts interior conveyors, and both of those have been removed. Even though they are present in my construction world, they have been removed from this vessel. And again, the reason for that was I wanted to get back to as much vanilla as possible. So there's a lot of things that, putting it mildly, are broken. I have gyros that are floating, which is of course just asking for clang. More background, how did I do that? Well, I took the original ship, resed it in the world, and then went into SE Toolbox, which is an external program. Oh, sorry, I saved the game. Closed out Space Engineers, went into SE Toolbox, removed everything that was not vanilla except for the scaffolding. And then saved it, and then came back into the game, and this is what's left. So because I didn't delete the blocks underneath the gyros in Space Engineers, they didn't blow up. So I got lucky there. But the fact that I'm going to have to delete those and fix all of these problems, it is still, there's a lot of work ahead. So what I have to do really is figure out how to get into all of this stuff. But because I wanted this kind of to be not so much a tutorial, kind of a tutorial, because I tend to babble as I construct and everything, but mostly a conversion of this large monstrosity. So let's continue on with the tour first. So reactors were here. And sorry to jump around and change scripts on you, but why did I mention all of the broken things? So in many ways, most of the conveyor system is gutted because of the removal of those armored blocks, armored conveyors, and internal conveyors. That really is a large portion of what we need to do and accomplish here. So anyway, as I was saying, this section was actually the refinery section. So lots of parts and pieces missing there. This is another section identical to this one here. So this section actually had, in fact, because I'm in this mode, for example, what are these flat plates here? Well, these are gyros. So as I'm moving slowly around, you can see there are a lot of gyros, but because, see all these pieces that are missing here, so this is why none of these hydrogen thrusters are functional. So here's hydrogen thrusters up top, and then all these gyros here that are free floating. They're not attached to anything, as you can see here. So there are a lot of pieces here missing. You can see there used to be one of the armored conveyors in here that all of these gyros bolted onto, and here that all the gyros bolted onto. Now, why there are gyros missing, I don't know. So very likely we will have to rebuild all of these. I don't know how challenging that is going to be. I may very probably have to take a lot of these sections apart and rebuild, not quite from scratch, but you know, we're, like I said, there's a lot of work here. What was in here? Very likely, which is possibly why this was here. Well, maybe one wasn't missing. Freezing here. This may have literally just been a conveyor system that was here. In fact, I think it was. So another Drifting Thoughts mod that was removed from here was the conveyor tube mod, which adds a conveyor tube that is 2 blocks, 3 blocks, and 4 blocks long, in both the large and the small varieties. So that also was removed from the ship. As I said, the intention here is to make this, you know, entirely. I'm not sure what these pieces are. These are not part of anything, I don't think. Of course, I may be. Oh, okay, that was. Alright, so that explains that. That was not a. That was because the camera is inside of that. Alright, so we're learning as we go. So this is obviously the storage section here. All of these have been converted over to standard vanilla large containers. As you can see, there's a boatload of them. All the batteries have been converted over to the standard vanilla battery. So I think I've got 2 layers here, and then we're into the reactor section here. In the reactors, you can see there's a gap here. So this was where the armored conveyors came in to this section. So obviously a bunch of batteries, but the rest of what was in this section was refineries and everything, and these are again the Kenti mod refineries. So all of that was removed. So the only thing left now are literally standard batteries, and oh, I can't touch that because I'm in spectator cam. So all of the and again we're back into, this is the next forward section for the small thrusters in this case. See, small thrusters. And more gyros. So this is a duplicate of the section back yonder. So this is just a forward section that is absolutely identical. There's no difference at all. In fact, I don't want to call this vessel modular because that would be a little misleading, but what I did was make sections of this ship individually. Okay, so why is there 2 blocks here, for example? That's because this section from this black strip to this black strip is a module that I built and then attached on as I was building this. So this section here, this refinery section and the reactor section, why is there 2 blocks? Same exact thing. So these block sections, literally I put merge blocks on and connected the damn things together. So same thing back here. So we have this massive storage section here. Sorry, speed this thing up. And then, you know, so we have a hydrogen section and then a storage section. So all of these sections were modular when I put all this together. So this next forward section, we have jump drives. So jump drives, keep it from freezing here. So now why pieces are missing, I don't know. That's something I've noticed in this last revision. I can literally put plates down and then, you know, a tenth of them disappear. So I really truly don't know what that is, if that's a view thing. So I was watching that earlier, and then when my actual character is near, then those mysteriously magically come back. So anyway, so obviously the conveyor comes through here, and then all the jump drives are just sitting here. So boatload of jump drives, because obviously this ship is really huge. So I couldn't tell you what was here. I don't remember. I think there's 5 jump drives on each side, so 10 jump drives total, 5 starboard, 5 let's make sure. Yes. So don't know what might have been here. Well, actually, thinking about it, this may have actually been where the refineries and extractors were. So then the question is, what was this? And I don't know. The only thing I could actually do is res another one in the world, and there's actually a couple pieces missing from it as well, because I don't have all the mods loaded. So again, this is the lateral drive section, and then the jump drives, assemblers. So the only downside to this particular assembler section, if you look, because of the limited area available, I could not put upgrade units on all sides of this assembler array. So as you can see, there's 4 sections, five of them that have 2 on each side, so it just staggers back and forth to those 2. There are 2 that have 1, so right here and here, here and here, and then these 2 outer ones have none. Okay, so it's just one of the unfortunate things. The vanilla upgrade modules are not 2-sided. So yes, I could get a 2-sided mod and throw them in here, and that would be fine and dandy, but alright, so this is, as we could see before, from end to end, this is a place where this was probably just conversion here over to so part of the conveyor network that made this section well, airtight. It really was airtight, because these scaffolding are airtight. Anyway, likely we switched to the armored conveyors up in here, and there were probably air vents in these 4 corners, which came through on the interior conveyors, which is to say, is this interior block with conveyors made by Drifting Thoughts. Then Prosimian Productions is who did the armor blocks. There was a former one, but it fell into that broken, disused category, abandoned category, and Prosimian picked it up and made it better. Oh, and my antenna, which is free floating on probably all sides. Yep, all 4 of them are free floating. So there's another repair. So the cryo chamber here is what this is all about. Clearly a bunch of cryo chambers. It looks like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on each side, so 16 cryo chambers. All of this free area, the missing stuff, was using Darth Biomech's cryopods. So this whole space was cryopods. Which makes sense if you consider this is an interstellar craft. So this may be, you know, like colony people, personnel for a colony that are going, and they are in stasis the entire trip, you know, that sort of thing. All right, so march through the door here. Why are there a bunch of parts missing? Well, I was also using OCD tanks in here. So all of the OCD tanks are now gone. So what all was in here? Well, I had kind of a living section and a passenger section in here. So there was a variety of different mods, everything from a Kaiser's decorations to azimuth seats, and so just a variety of different mods that, by way of removing them, vanished. So now there's a lot of free space. There were doors through here. This vessel also had oxygen lockdown mod, which is a script from MMaster. So that's been, I mean, the script is still here. You can actually see one of the programmable locks up here. But the script is not running because there's nothing to run. This is now one great big gigantic space because all the doors are gone. They were all modded doors, which is to say doors from mods. The other script that you can see that is still not really running but running is the also MMaster, the automatic LCD script is running. So both of these are actually from using that script. And we will try to repair that. So my guess is this was kind of the engineering area. Colt command console mods have also been removed here. We have gravity generator that is still here. Oh, sorry, that was not, even though it looks the same. So this is the medical area, but because the armored conveyors are gone, they're no longer connected to anything. So this could have been a command and control area, and in fact I think it was the command and control area. And then we're into the forward freeze here. So if we look down the lateral side of the ship, there's actually 3 sections. Now the sun is in the way. So there's actually 3 sections that are these lateral drive sections. So we have the section here, we have the section here, and then this section all the way forward. So we have the cryo area right here. We have the airlock section was here, and not only was there airlock here, but this was my standard, I want to call it my standard docking bay, was right here. So in the hole on both sides was Darth Biomech, the round airlock hatch. We had connectors down here that actually, these 5 wide connectors, oh, pardon me again, that were from, well, it's just a design that I have used, and I came up with something quite a while ago that worked. I needed something that we had that center door, So it was basically a 3x3, whereas a certain portion of that, usually a 2x3 section, would become the door, the access portion, and then we had this lower section that ended up usually being conveyors. It started out as merge blocks and mergeless conveyors, which is to say conveyors that will connect when you have something merge next to it. But when the merge blocks let go, then because they're mergeless conveyors, they break apart. Normally, I mean, they don't blow up; they just break apart, and so they work like a conveyor when they're connected with a merge block, in tandem with a merge block. But when the merge blocks let loose, then they let loose along with them. So they are a non-mergeable surface, which merge blocks normally, which conveyors normally would merge. So that's what this was, this airlock section here. Then all the different living and administrative facilities, and up here what were conveyors for one, and I don't know what else was here, but obviously the oxygen generators have been swapped out for so these were probably Kenti oxygen generators that got swapped out for vanilla. But a lot of conveyor network and probably OCD tanks. In fact, I think this was OCD tanks up here, which explains why everything is missing, because all the OCD tanks were pulled out too. So this was likely a Darth Biomech door here and here. So a standard airlock here and here. And all of another mod that was used here was the conveyor air vent from Digi, which is basically a conveyor. I've talked about these before, but one of the sides of the conveyor is removed and an air vent is in there. So it's a flush mountable thing, but it still functions as a conveyor. So it's actually extremely handy. And because the air vent portion is flush, it makes it really convenient. There was also some sloped conveyors, and a lot of these areas. For example, we see this section here, which is a dual block, and that's again because this whole thing was modular. So just stuck together with merge blocks, and once they're merged, I can remove the merge blocks and off we go. In fact, you don't even need merge blocks anymore. If you can actually get everything to spin around right how you want it, you can actually merge without having to worry about it. So there would have been a door here, and above the door would have been conveyor air vents, probably all the way across, so I would have 3. And then on the back side of that conveyor air vent would have been the sloped air vent, which also connects in. So actually, let me, if I have, so we have, let me go ahead and bring that a little closer so you can see it. It might be a little too close. And as soon as the game unfreezes itself. Alright, now let's AFU again. So you can see conveyor. So here's the air vent portion of it. So spinning all the way around. We still have the 4 and the 1. So the 1 on the back, and then the 4 on the sides, and then the actual air vent portion. So I would have had these up like here, and then let me put the slope on a window as things get dramatically unresponsive here. Oh, you know what I could do? Go back to, oh, it's already there. Alright, so let's escape. We'll bring up 5 again, and so here's the sloped vent. So it's a slope with a vent, and you actually have two conveyor ports. So it makes it, again, very, very convenient, but it is a slope block, but it's a slope block with two conveyors, which is really cool, or conveyor ports rather. All right, so on we go then into the cockpit, which is just glass, which is exactly what I mean. Those are upside down, backwards. So my intention here was to have, you know, as much glass as I could possibly get in here, and so probably there were air vents and such up here besides the door that was also here. Likely there was a hatch here that went all the way out, which we can replace. We'll obviously have to put in oh, it wasn't. There's glass here, so I'm not sure what was down here. It could have been it could have been tanks. The laser antennas, I think the laser antennas have been swapped out for vanilla laser antennas. So anyway, this is the basic tour of the monster, and you see the monumental task. These were the forward airlocks. I couldn't tell you what these were. So needless to say, got lots and lots of work to do, but wanted to at least share what's going on. So let's have a look at this over here real quick. This was a vanilla version of the same thing. Obviously you can see it's a lot smaller, but also a lot different in the design. So a whole bunch less when it comes to solar panels. And again, batteries and stuff, they may actually not be missing. So cargo containers all the way through. Let's see what's down back here. Hydrogen tanks and the main hydrogen drive. So you can see there's only 5 main hydrogen drives, and then these all these smaller ones. Using conveyors, it looks like. Yeah. So the only downside to conveyors is kind of a little known fact. Conveyors, for some reason, they do take up CPU time. So even though they do not show up in the list and they're not ownable or anything like that, they do for some reason take up some CPU cycles to do what they do. So the downside to having a boatload of conveyor junctions is they could ultimately be an impact in performance. So anyway, this was here purely for I guess visual. Eventually I wanted to take this one, which was originally going to be a downscaled version of this that was vanilla, and the concept, while noble, it wasn't going to get where I wanted to go, because in my mind I'm still seeing this and I can't get there with this. So that's why this ended up as a no-go. So it's not, there we go. Okay, so our focus is on this monstrosity here, and getting it repaired to the point of it being useful within the context of vanilla. And if we can't get to that point, then we might have to decide what mods become, required. And I may still do that. I am a devout fan of Darth Biomech's large gate. I have used that in so many of my builds. I like having a huge door. I like that it's a blast door kind of a thing. It's solid. On the flip side of that is that I also really appreciate Sectan's airtight door, which was also a 2x3. It raises up through things, so it goes right out the top of a ship in a lot of cases, which looks a little bit funky, but it's still a very nice door. And one of the reasons I like that particular door is that you can see through it. And he's got a non-see-through version. He or she, Sectan, has a non-see-through version of the same door. But I really like the windowed version, because especially when you're on the internal of this vessel, because it's open all the way down the length. It's kind of nice to have those windows because you can actually see what's going on in the next compartment before you actually go in there. So if we were to kind of apply reality and say, okay, I've got a hull breach, and you can walk up to that door and say, oh, there's a hull breach in this space. So for what that's worth. So anyway, so that's the project. So now that I've described all that, I'm going to break, and we will go into the next episode for the continuation of the rebuilding of the Interstellar Transport. Or maybe I should call that the vanilla-izing. Is that even a word? Vanilla-izing? Vanilla-izing of the Interstellar Transport. So with that, this is Kenty Tiger signing off, and I will see you next time.